Man, you know it's a good Monday when you can get Ross Tucker on the phone, and we were fortunate enough to do so. So let's don't waste any time. The former NFL offensive lineman, and you know him from so many different broadcast spots, Ross Tucker Podcast, CBS, Westwood One, etc. Ross, hardest working man in show business. Thanks for giving us some time today.
You know what's so funny? Everybody always says that, and yet my claim to fame is I'm 45 and I haven't had to get a real job yet. So
Congratulations.
I never say to my wife, I got to go to work, or I never talk about my job. I'll always just say, I got to do a show, I got to do a game, I got to do a radio hit. Like, I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you guys know what that's like, but for me to call what I do work is very insulting to a lot of people who I grew up with an hour west of Philadelphia. So I love it. It's not work. I love talking football, and I love Nashville, by the way. I don't know how you guys do it. I was there maybe a month ago, and it was a beautiful day out, and we were there for like a conference. So my brother-in-law, father-in-law, my wife, they're at the conference. I was like, I got to get out of here. I walked up and down Broadway, drinking like Modelo's, going in different honky-tonks. I was hopping on those. It was like a Saturday at noon. I was hopping on those bridal party biking things.
Yes,
Remember those things are called?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you guys, Blaine, how do you not just do that every day?
Oh, man. You got to say no. You got to say no, man.
Party time. By Morgan Wallen, you got to stay your butt at home and leave them Broadway girls alone.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Something without the cherry.
All right, well, let's roll into this. You spent some time. This is not draft related, but I have to ask you this because you spent some time with the Patriots during your career. Are you surprised things turned out the way that they have for Bill Belichick this year? And do you think he'll ever coach in the NFL again?
Ooh.
I am surprised he didn't get a job. I do think he'll coach again. I think he'll coach again because so much of it is public perception, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think he had two things going against him. Number one, obviously the Patriots were really bad, and they were bad ever since Brady was gone. And so that's what everybody's talking about. Is, oh my, they've been so bad without Brady, so bad without Brady. And also, he's pretty much generally considered a jerk, right? Like, I mean, there's other terms we can use for it, but he is, right? Like
just be honest. That's how we wanted you to be.
Butthole, whatever you want to call it, right? Like that's what he is. Like that. I mean, I was on the team. I don't know if you guys know this, but the first thing they do every morning at 8 a.m. is they go over like the 5 worst plays from the day before in practice of the game. Mm-hmm. And he just like makes fun of the guy or rips him. It's like 100% negative reinforcement.
See?
And by the way, what's funny to me about that, guys, is I think he thinks that that's why they were so successful. Mm-hmm. But the reality is Brady was such a psycho in a good way and was so respected that the motivation was really you didn't want to let Tom down. It really wasn't to not be on the low light tape from Belichick. I think he got that confused. Brady set the standard so high that you did not want to be the guy that Brady gave that look to or that Brady yelled at or Brady got upset with. Like it was Brady, in my opinion, more than Belichick. But so here's what I think will happen. He's doing something Thursday night with McAfee. He's going to be doing something with Peyton Manning all season. So what happens is, during the year, he's going to show some personality. He's going to smile. He's going to laugh. And because we're human beings, and most of us aren't the brightest bulbs, people are going to be like, you know what? He's not that bad. I kind of like Belichick. He got a bad rep. And because it'll be a year removed from his time with the Patriots, there'll be more talk. He'll impress people with stuff he says, and there'll be more talk about all the success he's had, and less talk about how it finished. And so a year from now, when the Giants or the Cowboys or the Eagles or somebody needs a coach, I'm pretty sure he'll get one. And he might have had a little bit more it might have been a little bit stronger this offseason, whereas next offseason, like I know this much, guys, he wants that record bad. I mean, he'll coach, if it comes down to it, by next year at this time, he'll coach any team to make sure he has a chance to break that record because he wants that. He wants to be the all-time winningest coach. Like, he cares very much about the history of the game and his legacy.
If he cared so much, he should have kept Tom Brady.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
I mean, how about like, what was that, like 6-7 years ago when all the quarterbacks like Derek Carr were getting $25 million a year and Brady was scheduled to make $15 million and he asked the team for more money and they gave him $5 million in incentives?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean, I was surprised Brady just didn't. I mean, Brady's a better guy than I am. He'd been taking less forever. He wants a little bit more money, and you give Tom Brady $5 million in incentives after he's won 5 Super Bowls for you? I would have been like, you know what? I'm retiring. Shove it up your you-know-what.
Yeah.
Hanging out with Ross Tucker. Get the real talk. He is out, Ross Tucker, NFL.
I love it, Ross. I saw some on your social media account there, the X, if you want to call it Twitter, whatever, but explaining why the Eagles management is the best at managing the cap once they sign Devontae Smith to a contract extension. And I'm asking that, kind of explain that and how they manage the cap. And then if you are the Titans, then lead that into how much would you give D-Hop an extension 1 or 2 years, even though his age dictates you shouldn't?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so what the Eagles do is, and they've done this forever, when they identify a guy as a core guy, especially as a young guy, they sign him to an extension basically as soon as possible. Because, and here's the logic, you want him. He's going to be there. You want him to be there for a while, and they're smart enough to know, number one, the salary cap goes up a lot each year. I think it went up like $20 million this year or something crazy. So the salary cap goes up a lot. Secondly, because of that, what guys are getting at every position goes up. So it's the issue right now that the Niners are having with Ayuk and the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb and, you know, the Vikings with Justin Jefferson. They all want top dollar, right? Well, the Eagles essentially gave Devontae Smith a really good contract, $25 million a year. But guys, that doesn't kick in for 2 more years. So he's got this year, the 4th year of his rookie deal. Then he's got the 5th year option. Then he's got those 3 years. By the time those 3 years kick in, he won't even be a top 10 paid receiver in the league. So the deal is they're taking on the injury risk now because what if Devontae has something, you know, career-ending next year, which is always a possibility, or his play drops off. They're not worried about the play dropping off. They've done the actuarial information about how likely it is that he gets a career-ending injury. They're willing to take that risk now. So for Devontae to be able to get $60 million fully guaranteed now, 2 years before the Eagles have to do it, and he knows he's set for life, he's going to take it. Meanwhile, the Eagles, wait till 2 years from now when, think about this. Like, think about how much the Titans are paying Ridley, okay? Calvin Ridley, I don't think is as good of a player as Devontae Smith, and yet they're paying him a lot of money. Meanwhile, Devontae Smith's not even getting that money for 2 more years. That'll be the 3rd year of Ridley making whatever he's making, 20-some a year, before Devontae Smith even starts making over $20 million a year. As for DeAndre Hopkins, that's an interesting one because now that they got Ridley, you know, DeAndre's not their number 1. He's going to be their number 2. And also the Eagles, they don't like to do it as much on 3rd and 4th contracts.
Right.
You know, they do it on 2nd contracts, rarely for guys a 3rd contract. This would basically be, I believe, DeAndre's 4th bite at the apple, and they do not like giving it to a guy who knows it's probably his last big one, because then what's the incentive for the guy at that point? So I don't know. It's almost like when they traded Reddick, right? Like Hassan Reddick, you know, they want that guy to still be heavily, heavily motivated.
All righty, we on with Ross Tucker from the Ross Tucker podcast. I guess one more. It's kind of a questionable deal. You kind of explained it to me. I don't know all the rules for the Hall of Fame, but should the NFL change their views on how you can make the Hall of Fame, and that just because you made it as a player, if you become a GM or a great coach, you can't then be a Hall of Famer at that, profession. And I think because once you're in it, you're in it. So should they change that rule? What I'm thinking of is like Ozzie Newsome. Great GM, right? One of the best ever.
Look, I think it's interesting because they've changed a little bit in that you can go in as a contributor.
Right.
Because they used to say you couldn't really, because Dick LeBeau, he made it as a player, but let's be honest, Dick LeBeau made it as a player coach, right? Like, he didn't go in for a long time as a player. His coach part of it is what put him over the top. And I think that happens with some other guys. But there's no question, Blaine, and you know this, Ozzie Newsome is a Hall of Fame player and a Hall of Fame general manager. They're not going to put him in a second time. They're not going to give him a second jacket. But he just has enough people like you and me saying that it's like he basically is.
There you have it. Ross Tucker said he is in the Hall of Fame of Ross Tucker Pod Hall of Fame.
There you go, which is quite a Hall of Fame to be in. Your evaluation of Joe Alt, because you're a former NFL offensive lineman and people just know you as media mogul. You were an NFL offensive lineman, Ross. If he's there at 7, should the Titans just run and throw the card at the commissioner and make that happen?
Yeah, I think they should take him. I do. He's just, I don't know if you guys have seen him. He looks like he's 15 years old. I mean, he looks like he's barely even gone through puberty. It's crazy. He's 21. He's 6'9", 315, whatever it is. You can tell that his dad played a long time. He's very polished. He's very smooth. I think we're all biased, and Blaine can speak to this, about the type of players we were. I was not overly physically gifted, so I kind of made up for it by playing very hard, borderline dirty. And so I wish there was a little bit more of that in Joe Alt's game, right? I wish there was a little bit more of the nastiness, like you see from Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, or you see even the Fatanu kid from Washington. Those guys will get after people a little bit more, but that's my bias, right? Like what matters the most is you have a guy that can play that position and you feel good about it. And putting him next to Skoronski, I think you'd feel very, very good about the left side of the offensive line for a long time, which is good, especially having Levis as a right-handed quarterback and giving him this shot. I do think that Alt is the guy. I would also say, though, that there's a lot of value in you guys having Bill Callahan down there, too. And I'd be curious to see what Callahan thinks or who he thinks is the right guy for that spot. I think my guess is that Alt probably reminds him a decent amount of Joe Thomas, and that's who they take.
All right, we may have time to ask a couple more, but I got to ask you about this certainly before we go. MyFrontPageStory.com.
Well, so Mother's Day is in 2 weeks. Nobody realized it till May comes, but I'm telling you, Mother's Day is coming in a couple weeks. I am convinced moms are the greatest thing ever of all time.
Yeah.
They're everybody's number one pick. You got to get them something unique, something different, something cool. Check out MyFrontPageStory.com. My buddy started the company. You literally talk to one of their writers, or you fill out an email, tell them how great your mom is, or if you want to get it for your wife, you can do that too. They write this story. Looks like it's on the cover of the Tennessean, like cover of the newspaper, framed, beautiful. And when you give it to them, just to be able to say, Mom, I want to do something special, so I had a story written about you. It sounds amazing. And then when they actually read the quotes from you or your sibling, like we got one, my sister and I got one from my mom, and when she read the quote from my sister saying, I wouldn't be the woman I am today without my mom, like my mom has started bawling. I can almost guarantee your mom and or wife will cry happy tears if you get this for them, and it'll be hanging up in the house forever, which makes it like the ultimate gift because it's the gift that keeps on giving. MyFrontPageStory.com. It's called MyFrontPageStory.com. Trust me, fellas.
There you go, Ross Tucker. We got time to maybe squeeze in one more football question. Let's do it, Blaine.
Well, I'll make it a long one and well worth it then. So
Okay.
we'll go out on a good note, hopefully. So if the NFL were to increase the games again, how many games they play, should they do one of three things, or what do you think may happen? Roster increase, expansion, through overseas or even here? What do you think will happen? Maybe something else other.
Yeah, no, I think at some point I do think there will be an 18th game because I think that the money is just that significant that it's worth it to the players. You know, I always hear all these people saying, the players don't want that. The players don't want that. It always makes me laugh. Like, if you went into an NFL locker room on January 4th and you're like, okay, guys, you already went through training camp. You already went through the whole season. Everybody, if we play one more game, everybody gets another game check. Almost every guy, other than the crazy rich quarterback or whatever, almost every guy would be like, heck yeah. We've already come this far. One more game for another $150,000 or whatever it is. Like, yes, let's do it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I think they will do it, and I think what will happen is I think we'll get to the point where every team has one neutral site game a year. So I actually thought that's what would happen when they went to 17 games. I didn't think it would be 9 home and 8 away. I thought it'd be 8 and 8, but then every team plays a neutral site. So I thought they would have, you know, all these international games, Blaine. But then I also thought they'd put a game in St. Louis, a game in San Antonio, a game in Portland. You know, I thought every team would do one neutral site game. They didn't get there, but they're moving there, right? There's a game in Spain next year. There's a game, you know, there's a game in Brazil this year. So it takes longer than I realized, but I think they're kind of still getting there.
Well, Tweak, real quick. Mickey wants to be the commissioner of the UFL. Should the NFL buy that league and make it its minor league?
Why do they need to do that?
Well, I mean, they don't have to, but just so they can control everything. At some point, you want to be controlling everything.
I think that's
rules.
Yeah, I think that's probably the end game for the UFL.
Right.
And I think maybe the NFL would do that if the UFL went belly up, right? But the NFL is not going to pay that money unless they have to, is how I look at it.
Gotcha.
Ross, fantastic stuff, man. At Ross Tucker NFL, again, Ross Tucker Pod, CBS, Westwood One, and then everybody, mom, grandma, everybody for Mother's Day, myfrontpagestory.com, the best gift. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Ross.
And next time I come down there, we're just walking up and down Broadway, going into all those honky-tonks. And they let you have, I guess you're not supposed to have a beer outside, but I did anyway. I don't care. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, you got to hit us up,
You
man.
got to let us know.
Yeah.
Get your man
We're going to be
Ivan
on
let
the
us
Pedal
know.
Tavern with you.
Hopefully I get a Titans game this year. Sounds great. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
Thank you, Ross Tucker. You get the realest of real talk from him. If you just missed that or you missed part of it, Blaine and Mickey podcast, you need to go back and listen to everything he said. He will blow you away.